Hey everybody, Jake here from Bearded Gear, and I've been meaning to do this video forever. It has come up in recent times that some people in my comment sections and elsewhere have tried to make the claims that a double-edged OTF is as effective at cutting things, like slicing, as a single-edged, out the side folder. So I'm here to prove that that's wrong and that those people are incorrect. I brought a lot of boxes out here. So I've got a bunch of cardboard, I've got some rope, I've got a vitamin water bottle, I've got some plastic packaging, I have a thick like roll thing, like what goes like a tube, and I don't know, we'll see what else I can scrounge up and find out here, but we're just going to do a bunch of cut testing, and I'm going to prove that geometry matters on a blade. This is a Microtech Troodon. This is my favorite Microtech OTF that I've ever had. Favorite OTF in general I've ever had. I love it, love the size. It cuts pretty well. It does fine. Not saying this sucks, just saying that this is better. This is a Spyderco Para3. This is a very, very widely accepted good EDC knife in this day and age. So we're going to show that this cutting geometry, which isn't even insane, this isn't like remarkably thin behind the edge, it's not doing anything crazy, it's just a full flat grind, good cutting profile, is going to do a lot better at cutting through, I think, everything out here than this. What this will do better at is piercing tasks. This can stab better than this can. Maybe even not by that much though, because this is a pretty stabby tip. So we're just going to go ahead and start putting it through some stuff and see what happens, and then we'll probably finish by going inside and talking about it some more. So let's start cutting. Alright, first thing we're going to cut is just some normal, this is just single wall Amazon packaging cardboard. Now, with this blade, Spyderco Para3 Max Met, this is still the factory edge, by the way. This thing I've been carrying and using forever, still going super strong. With this knife, I can go ahead and just press through, and it cuts with relative ease. Let me show you that from this side so you see the tip. It just slices fairly easily, not a big deal, right? This knife is great for stuff like that. Let's switch to the OTF. This has a good edge on it. Again, still the factory edge, still going strong. This knife doesn't need a sharpening yet. Everything is going well. It will slice. Absolutely, it gets the job done, but I have to push considerably harder. There's more force required on my end to push this through. The reason why that's happening is because this grind is very short. There's not a lot of height there. If you compare that to the height of the grind on here, you have way less resistance, right? You're coming to a peak right here in the middle of the blade. This doesn't come to a peak until way up here at the top. So it's geometry. It's literally as simple as this grind is shorter and stubbier, so right behind the edge, it's thicker, and then it gets thick faster. That makes it have more resistance as I'm pushing through things. Pretty simple, right? Let's show another media we can cut. All right. This is literally just some plastic packaging, like kind of like clamshell type of stuff you might find on some products. Sometimes when opening boxes, you need to cut through stuff like this. This time, let's start with the OTF, just to switch it up. So I'm just gonna make an incision and I'm gonna cut down, right? So I'm gonna press in. That stabs very easily. That's great. And then I'm gonna push on through. It's a little bit snaggy, but mostly did pretty well. It will cut, okay? Now, let's see how the Para3 does. So, make an incision, stab right in. Honestly, that was just as easy to stab into the material. And we're gonna push. I don't know how well this is gonna come through on camera, but I have to push with less force with this knife. With the OTF, I just have to push harder. It has more resistance, okay? Still cutting it. It did fine. It's cutting through things. It's not that it won't cut, just not the same. Let's grab something else. This is a pretty thick vitamin water bottle, all right? So on here, let's say I'm gonna cut the top off with the OTF in this nice thick spot, And then same again, we've got an identical thick spot down here, kind of on these ridges is where I'm talking about. I'm gonna make those cuts. So even to make it extra fair, I'm gonna start with the OTF because the bottle might get a little flimsier, which will make it harder to cut afterwards. So let's start with the OTF. I'm gonna do this left-handed because I'm a weirdo like that. And I'm gonna push in. That was easy. Now, if I try to just push through, it's a lot of resistance to just push. What I find myself wanting to do is rock the blade back and forth through. Even then, I'm still having to push with a lot of force to get through this plastic. But it'll do it. It works, right? So now, let's switch to this one, and we're gonna do the same thing on this end. Nice easy incision. Noticeably easier to make this cut. It's a difference between forcing and, I mean, this I'm still forcing too, if we're being totally fair, but this feels a little more like it glides through the material. So, super easy, nice and clean. They both work. Again, it's just the force required to push these things through the material you're trying to cut. This has less resistance every single time so far. All right, let's find something else. All right, this is just some old rope that's been sitting outside. I've tied a bunch of stuff with this before. I've used it for other cuts before, or other cut tests, I should say. So it's just nasty old rope that's meaningless to me. So if we want to cut through something like this, I love when I'm cutting a rope in actual application, making a little bit of a loop and then just pressing through like this, right? So we're gonna try that. I'm just gonna get a nice hammer grip on here. Oop, not all the way through, but it did. There we go. All right, so I did it. Let's give it another shot. I'm gonna hold super firmly here. I'm gonna start at the base of the edge here, and I'm gonna push. Oh, nope. Push. Nope. Let me try that the other way. There we go. So I'm pushing hard, trying to use the blade to glide through. Took me 3 on that one, I think 2 on the first one. It's also, the play feels interesting doing something like that. Not very confidence inspiring, if I'm being honest. All right, let's try it with the Para3. So we'll take this little loop spot right here. It's like dusty. Same thing. We're just gonna take a nice hammer grip and push through. That's a cut. Let's try it again here. See if we get the same result. Start at the base of the edge, hammer, grip, nice firm push, and we're through. So on that, even more dramatic than any of the cut tests so far, I would say, especially in how it feels to make that type of cut. That was much better. I also think a lot of people tend to try to make claims that OTFs are like fantastic for first responders and stuff. Like, oh, if you got to cut through seatbelts, they're great. First of all, a double edge is probably not the best idea to cut a seatbelt off of somebody's body because you have another edge that's then facing them. Not the safest idea. Second, this is probably the closest to a seatbelt that I can or will simulate here, and it was noticeably less effective than the Para3. All right, on to the next one. All right, so this is that dense roll that I was talking about. You can see, this is not like a thin paper towel roll. I don't know what this came from that my wife had, but it is sturdy. This is intense stuff. So I'm gonna try to cut through this, I think much like I did on the vitamin water bottle. And we're just gonna see what happens with that. So we'll start with the OTF again. I'm just gonna try to cut a ring off of it. I wanna see if I can do it without stabbing in and if I can just slice through. Because I think on the Para3 I'll be able to. I'm not sure on this one if that'll work, but let's see. Alright, I'm pushing really hard. I'm making a notch. So far. Let's give that another shot, see if we can. Alright, I think I'm almost into the tube now. And difficult. There we go. Alright, so getting it started was not easy. This is dense stuff, but I got it. That worked. So, we're in. Let's try it with the Para3. Alright, again, just going to try to slice in. Got in much quicker. So much easier. Night and day, not even close. Again, they both cut it. This can work. If this is the tool that's on you, you need to cut something, even if it's something serious. This knife isn't failing, still working just fine. The edge is holding up. Everything's going okay, right? But this is more effective at cutting things because it's designed to cut and this is designed to stab. That's the difference. So another interesting thing too, obviously this being double-edged, you have the advantage of there's an edge on each side, right? And it's designed to stab. So let's just see, like, I'm gonna feel it out, how much pressure it takes for me to stab into this with the OTF, just to show how much better it pierces. Maybe, we'll see. So I just push. Honestly, that's stupid easy. Really, really easy to go into that cardboard. Let's do this right in front of it, or I'll do it over here. Alright, so with this one, that probably honestly took about twice as much pressure to push that all the way into the box compared to pushing this all the way into the box. Let's do it again just to make sure. It's a controlled experiment here. So easy. Especially once you get that started, the rest of the blade just basically wants to fall into place. This one, you're gaining resistance as it goes in. Yeah, I have to push harder to get that in. So this does pierce incredibly effectively. This obviously still does that, but it's not as effective as the one that's designed to do it. Okay, so let's do one final test. I'm gonna grab a fresh box. All right, so this is a fresh box. I literally just received this today. I ordered a Star Wars Darksaber from The Mandalorian. Anyway, so on each side of this, I'm gonna use each knife respectively, and I just wanna see what the cut path looks like if we get close up on it, because they have, honestly, I think this is a slightly thinner blade stock than the Para3. Yeah, the Para3 definitely has the thicker blade stock, but I want to see what the cut looks like if I pass down in a relatively straight line through this material, and I don't know what that's going to tell me. I already know that pushing this downwards through a slicing cut like that is going to feel smoother, but I want to see what it looks like, because I don't know, I'm not sure what it will. Let's give it a shot. So I'll start over here. Am I in frame? I can't tell. Yeah, let's start down here. Just gonna press in, and I'm gonna leave it to where I'm kind of like right in the middle of the blade, and we're just gonna push down, I don't know, 10 inches, something. So pretty easy to hold a nice straight line. It's not like it's that difficult or anything. And yeah, that slices. It did fine. Now, let's do the same thing over here. Incision and press. So, again, the sensation when cutting with it definitely feels smoother on that one. And if we look at these lines, I will say it looks smoother too. Not by a ton, but by a hair. This looks a little bit more ragged, like it's more fibrous at the edges. This just feels cleaner. This I can feel the edge a little more. This just feels, yeah, it's smoother, cleaner. They're both honestly pretty similar in like the width of the slice. when you look across it. The Para3 is probably a little bit thicker, a little bit of a wider gap that it created, but not by a ton. So this one feels and looks smoother. All right, let's go inside and talk about it. All right, so we're back inside, and my lamp is casting this weird shadow that looks interesting. Anyway, yeah, it's taken me way too long to do that testing, but I'm glad to have finally done it, because it confirmed what I knew to be true. I don't understand why, on a human level, some people feel the need to defend things that they like by claiming that they're the best in ways that are measurable, because, I don't know, I disagree with the idea that because you like something, it has to be the best performer. That's not the case. I see people do it all the time when talking about steels. People will be like, well, CPM 154 is the best steel ever because I love using it. Shut up. That doesn't make it the best steel ever. That makes it mean that you like using it. And it can be good. You can speak highly of it. You can share your opinions about it. But using words like it's the best or even that it's better because you've had good experiences with it is so anecdotal and doesn't prove anything. The testing that I just did, frankly, to you probably doesn't prove all that much either, because so much of it is just what I felt during that use, right? I didn't have a way to measure how many pound-feet of force it took to force my hand through something, but I could feel that pressing through simple cardboard with this blade, there was more resistance than there was pushing through it with this blade. And this isn't even like the pinnacle of EDC knives. A lot of people, this is probably their favorite EDC knife, but this isn't insanely thin behind the edge. There are plenty of knives, even knives that I own, that are thinner behind the edge. It's just a simple, full flat ground, EDC focused, slicing focused blade profile. The idea that some people have double-edged OTFs and they love using them and they find that they work for them is totally fine. But to make claims that they're the best option for slicing tasks, which I've seen people do more than once, is just incorrect. These aren't even designed to be slicing knives. They're designed to be able to slice. They have an edge all the way around them, right? So there are some advantages and some disadvantages to the way these knives are built. And their focus, the advantages, are designed for tactical purposes, for fighting, for piercing tasks, stuff like that, right? And slicing takes the back seat. Whereas knives like this and many others are designed for the utility of cutting through things like cardboard, seat belts if you need to. Like, whatever it is that you need to cut, that's up to a certain density. Even at any density, I'll go so far as to say, this will be more effective at slicing or cutting than this will. Again, we saw that this did everything that this did. It doesn't mean that this is incapable or that it can't or that it won't, but I just reject the argument that it's in any way the best tool for the job, unless what you're looking at specifically is piercing focused. Then you can make an argument for a knife like this. With a double-edged spear point blade, this is designed to pierce things. But the grind is short. The edge that's on it is fine. The steel that's on it is fine. Those things are okay. But the grind matters. Geometry is what cuts things at the end of the day. If you have a super thick, blocky, ridiculous grind and just put a sharp edge on it, it's going to feel like a super thick, blocky thing you're trying to cut with. If you take a really thin blade, like say something that's even twice as thin behind the edge as this is probably like 20 thousandths behind the edge. If you took something that's like 10 thousandths behind the edge and didn't even put an actual edge on it, didn't sharpen it, but it was just that thin in terms of its overall profile, it would cut better than the thing that is really thick and just has a good edge on it. The geometry is so important to cutting, and there's a lot of things that go into what makes a knife really effective at cutting. Some of it can be blade steel, but that's really just about how long it's going to hold the edge or whether it will chip or wear or anything like that. But the most important thing is geometry. That's what is doing the cutting, right? And there are things you can do to make knives with poor geometry feel a little better, like putting a really good edge on them and stuff like that. But you're limited at a certain point. Geometry is the most important thing. So, I don't know. I guess my whole point behind this is like, stop defending things that you like by calling them the best. Because there's data out there. There's ways to measure these things. And even if it's just you on your own, like, try this. If you have a double-edged blade that you think is the ultimate cutting knife, please get something that is a decent blade grind and is an out-the-side folding knife with a single edge on it that is designed to slice and not to be tactical, and then cut things with them side by side. And you'll probably find, like I did, that this is more comfortable. It goes through items with more ease. It's less difficult to cut stuff, and it's quicker at going through dense objects. It feels more stable. Like, it's superior at everything I just cut. I would rather do the cutting with this. That said, this is a fun knife. I get why people love it. It's a lot of fun to carry. It's a lot of fun to use. It does cut things. I don't find when this is the secondary that's on me that I feel limited. Like, anything that I'm going to cut with in a typical day with a secondary knife, like a lot of the stuff I just showed, this will do it. It'll do fine. But you're not going to catch me saying that that makes it an ultimate EDC because of it. Because I know through my own experience that many, many things are more effective and are better. They are objectively better at slicing things than this is. And I don't think even the guys at Microtech would be mad to hear me say that this isn't the ultimate slicing knife. Because they know, since they're the ones who build this, that they didn't try to build the ultimate slicing knife. So, anyway, take all of that for what it's worth. Come at me in the comments if you somehow still disagree. I would love to read it, and maybe I'll respond if it's hilarious enough. But I don't know. I think people need to stop defending things because they like them by using words like best or, I don't know, like, maybe just don't speak in absolutes. Just be open that you like things, but stop trying to convince other people that it's the best option only because you like it. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully this has been in some way entertaining. This was different and kind of fun for me to make. But yeah, I guess that's all I have to say on the matter for now. Maybe this will come up again later. We'll see. But thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next one.